Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. I got my guy Cody McBride with me today. My name is Randy. We're going to be chatting some LPGA Tour, some women's golf at large. And then we have a really good interview for the folks. Charley Hull, somebody that we've been wanting to talk to for quite a while. We catch up with her for about 25, 30 minutes in the second half of this episode. But let me introduce my co-host, Cody. How are you today, sir?
Great, buddy. I'm excited. It feels like it's been another false start on the LPGA season, and we're finally getting to the point where we can talk about major championships again. Of course, got to go to Mexico before we get to Wisconsin. That makes the most sense in the world. But hey, here we are, excited to break it all down with you, brother.
Yeah, I know. I had some of those similar thoughts too. Next week is, of course, the US Women's Open up at Erin Hills outside of Milwaukee. And I was thinking, I just wish there was there felt like a little bit more buzz, I guess, going into the event. I think it's going to be an awesome tournament. The USGA puts on a great women's open. I think Erin Hills getting another look at that course after we saw it several years ago host the US men's open.
Also hosted the NLU Club Championship. People might.
That's right. So I don't know. We'll try to create our own buzz a little bit. I want to tell folks we're going to be out next week Tuesday with a preview episode of sorts. It's going to be more of just a deep dive history akin to what we did for the Women's British Open, the AIG Women's Open last year. Just diving into the history of the event, highlighting some of the fun, wacky, weird, and instrumental kind of events that have led us up to today. So that will all be next week. Today's show, I think we're just going to catch up on some news and notes, a few things to talk about. And then like I said, the Charley Hull interview on the second half of this show. So
Yeah,
Cody,
I'm excited,
yeah.
brother. Hey, before we get there though,
Yes.
listen, I know this is going to be primarily focused on the best women in the professional game, but I want to take a second to talk about tomorrow's stars, specifically those who played in the NCAA Women's D1 Championship. They wrapped up their stroke play yesterday as a recording. We have a new national champion. I'm very excited. Of the 156 women who competed at La Costa, 137 of them were playing a Titleist Pro V1 or the Pro V1X golf ball. That's 88% of the field. What? 88% of the field,
Yeah.
and more than
That's so
13
many.
times the nearest competitor with 10 golf balls in play. It's truly an outrageous stat when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. Yes.
Not Titleist just wasn't the overwhelming number one golf ball. They were also the most played driver, iron, and wedge at nationals. The individual champion, we'll get to her later, but yes, she was also gaming a new Pro V1X golf ball, Titleist driver, T200 irons, and Vokey SM10 wedges. The best players in the game, they're dialed in from tee to green, head to toe. Everybody, please go to Titleist.com to find a fitting near you. Get fit. Outrageous stats there, Big.
Yes. Thank you to our friends at Titleist. We are going to get to the NCAA, both the individual results, and we'll let you know what's going on the team competition. Cody, this week the LPGA, they are down in Mexico. They're in Playa del Carmen. It's a new event on the LPGA schedule, but it's a familiar venue. It's do you know how to pronounce the course name? I feel like you're better at the Spanish names than I am.
Chameleon. That's how always the chameleon course.
Okay, chameleon.
I think that's how I always go, but sure, please correct us. I'm sure that, that wouldn't be the first time here. We've seen it a lot of cenote
So
action.
that's what I was getting at. Yes, it's a course that we are familiar with from the PGA, and Liv has been there a few times.
God, people get so deep. I guarantee you, if Hope is down there, she's going to be down in that cenote, taking all sorts of pictures and, getting social with it. I hope she does all those walk and talks all the time. I hope she head on a swivel. You don't want to fall in there, okay? So Hope, if you're going down, watch out.
Be
But
careful.
Big,
I think that's the seventh hole. There's just like
I
a
think
giant
so.
sinkhole in the middle of the fairway. It's kind of
True.
sick.
this
Yeah.
Greg Norman masterpiece, which honestly for like a resort course is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I always kind of like marvel at everything that they have going down at Mayakoba. It looks like an awesome place to vacation to, and I don't know, it's like a jungle slash wetlands there, and they built a golf course that looks pretty cool, and they've hosted a lot of championship events there. Now, I will say this big, this is a new event, just like you said. Match play used to be down in Mexico. Obviously, a long line of great Mexican women who have played on the LPGA tour. We can talk about Lorena Ochoa. We can, talk about Gabby Lopez, who really was the spearhead. She wanted this event back on the calendar. So congrats to Gabby and of course Maria Fossey. But I also know how difficult it is to find investment in the women's game right now. And you can say a lot about where this event's at scheduling wise, which is kind of a bummer because everybody's going to Wisconsin next week for the US Women's Open. And it doesn't have the strongest field in the world. But I really want to shout them out for putting the money up, you know, getting additional sponsors on board and, more playing opportunities because the LPGA Tour needs all the investment they can get.
Yeah, I think that's well said. It's nice to have a new event, somebody that wants a new event in a place of the world where they haven't had ladies professional golf, I believe, since, gosh, going on like 8 or 9 years since Lorena Ochoa's kind of namesake event stopped being an annual thing. So I'm excited. I was just going to say that as far as seeing it, watching it, Eastern times, it's midday streaming on Golf Channel. I think 11 to 1 p.m. most days, and then you can pick up an extra hour on the NBC Sports app. The only thing to really note for folks, the Sunday conclusion is another CBS telecast, and that's going
Like
to be
that.
from 1 to 3 p.m. This Sunday on CBS. So
Do you know why I like that?
be
You're
sure
gonna
to
have a
check
lot
that
of
out.
voices and everything that are normal for LPGA coverage. Doesn't really matter if it's CBS or Golf Channel, NBC there. But what that means is that you have a new tournament that costs additional money if you want network. And I think again, it's another big sign of like the tournament organizing committee wanting to put this out there because network TV is not cheap and it's what the LPGA tour needs more of.
Yeah. You mentioned not the most star-studded field. There are, I think the biggest names will be the Mexican players, Gabby Lopez, probably leading that list. Maria Fossey is going to be playing. There are a number of sponsor exemptions to Mexican women to play, but it's also a good opportunity. You have like Lynn Grant, Cody, who hasn't had the best of seasons so far by any stretch. Looking at somebody like Gabby Ruffles as well, who's really looking to get going in 2025. A Sei Young Kim, former major winner. That there are, I feel like it's a great opportunity for people like this to, hey, string 4 rounds together, cash a nice check, maybe win a tournament, and you never know, heading into next week, maybe you find a swing feel, and all of a sudden the US Open next week becomes a lot more enticing. So while it's not the strongest field, no Nelly, no Gino, no Lydia Ko, unfortunately, I do think it's interesting to see who emerges, quite frankly, to see who can win this. So
Well, the one thing that I'd say is that we hear this all the time on the men's tour, like some players really like playing the week prior. And obviously there's turf conditions that are completely different between where they're at Mayakoba, where they're going to at Erin Hills. But like people just getting used to a week on the road, hitting shots, getting in the zone and being in like a competitive environment is going to really help people. You mentioned Seon Kim, Lynn, Charlie's going to be there, Gabby Ruffles, but really this is also the last qualifying event for the US Women's Open. And that's right. The cutoff line is top 75 for the Rolex rankings. And you have people that are on the bubble. So Natalia Guseva, who a woman without a country, she represents Russia, is like literally at number 74. So she's in right now. She's playing because I'm trying to let me pull it up real quick. She's at 74. 75, who also is playing right now, is Leona Maguire, who needs to get something going. The next person there, number 77, Jenny Shin. She needs to absolutely make the cut, get something going to get in that top 75 just to make it to Erin Hills. So there's
Yeah.
huge implications here of where they're at. And the vast majority of these women have gone through, the US Women's Open qualifying. It's single day, 36 hole qualifying. And they, either made it or didn't make it, but those are the ones on the bubble that I hope come Sunday with this great CBS coverage are ones that we can keep an eye on instead of just the normal, hey, these are the last three groups in the lead.
Yeah. So that's this coming week on the LPGA. Speaking of the CBS coverage, they had the final round from Liberty National 2 weeks ago, the Mizuho America's Open. Gino Titicum won that. A great performance by her. She beat Celine Boutier. I think the thing to note, she started the round 2 strokes ahead of Nelly Corda. Nelly just couldn't really get anything going on Sunday, ended up finishing 6 shots back. But I did enjoy the CBS coverage. Cody, it's really nice to hear Kelly Tillman is one
Yeah.
of the voices that does the LPGA work on CBS, and somebody that I grew up, she was all over the place on Golf Channel, and just has taken a step back over the last several years, but it's nice to see and hear Kelly. I think she does a good job on these weeks where the LPGA is on CBS.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a different look. I think that's why we get so spoiled on the men's side because you kind of get bounced back and forth, and there's like CBS, you know, has a couple week run, and then you have NBC that has a couple week run, and there's kind of a known balance to it all. I think the one thing outside of a lot of the issues that we've talked about with NBC Golf Channel's women's coverage, but just having like a different look of graphics and music and voices goes a long way. Like you're like, wait a second, it feels. We always talk about this kind of feels elevated, and it was Liberty National, and you have beautiful scenes of Manhattan and Lady Liberty and everything else like that. So yeah, I don't know what scenes we're gonna get in Mexico, but it's gonna look a little different.
I totally agree. There's just a freshness about it, which is, for lack of a better word, refreshing. As I watch coverage, the Mizuho event is quickly becoming, I think, one of the better ones on an
For sure.
annual basis on tour, first class, and I think it goes back to venue plays a big part of that as well. We've love it, hate it. Liberty National. I do think Liberty National is a really striking venue. It's a golf course that's in great shape. It's a great venue for the LP or a great market for the LPGA to be in New York City. Um, so I don't know. I just that event is quickly becoming. You can put it in a bucket with the one I always think about is I know they weren't at Welshire this year, but
Yes.
Wilshire. The Wilshire
Yes.
event out in LA
Well, I
is
think
another
that's
one that
why
comes to mind.
I think that's where we're kind of been it's felt. I'm going to be honest, big. The LPGA is kind of been stinky the first section of the year. And there's not a lot to really get up about. And I feel a lot of it isn't, obviously we're so spoiled last year with this incredible run that Nelly went on. And if you pay attention, I mean, we've had some phenomenal winners so far this year, including our most recent at Mizuho, Gino. Like, it would be amazing to see her. We have a first time winner in rookie like Ingrid Lindblad. And the week before that in match play, we had this incredible duel that we were all like, oh no, which way is it going to go? Because either way, it's going to be a win for no laying up between Madeline and LC. It's it's one of those things you have Angel winning and Lydia winning, but we're missing something. And
I
it's the
know.
golf courses. It's these venues because we didn't get Wilshire. The Founders Cup got completely dismantled and
Yeah.
moved away from an awesome golf course at Upper Montclair, and it just feels like it's just been flat. So I'm very excited to get to Erin Hills and see something that we're familiar with. And if people, don't have memories of JT hitting that ridiculous 3 wood on 18 and the rough and everything, it's going to look a lot different. But I think it's going to play the way that that Erin Hills and like, the designer and people there expect it to. Should get super windy and it's going to be firm and fast and they're going to be like have to play very strategic golf. And it's the first time this year that we're actually getting that on the LPGA tour.
Yeah, you're so right. I had that same overarching thought yesterday as well as I was putting together a little agenda and trying to prepare for this podcast. Like I really liked the Singapore event back in February, I just thought that was a good tournament. Lydia Ko won, good golf course. But then, you go all of March, and no offense to the Blue Bay and the Ford Championship, but like you said, like the venues just are totally forgettable, right? And then we get to Shadow Creek, which was awesome. I think Shadow Creek is a wonderful venue, a very hard venue. So that was early April. And so it's like, okay, we miss out on Wilshire. El Caballero Country Club, though, El Caballero Country Club
Either way you
was
want to go.
was okay, right? As a
Right.
as a 1-year substitute. But then, I know we've harped on the Chevron, like, it just felt like a bit of a dud, and so we're kind of back to it's like we're always restarting, and we can't really carry any momentum. So, yeah, I feel like, gosh, we're getting to the end of May here, and it finally feels like we have a big, important event coming up next week with the US Women's Open. But man, it shouldn't take like 5 months into a season for us to get there. So we
Uh,
will talk a lot more US Women's Open next week. Anything else, Cody, from either the Mizuho? I do want to mention the week before the Mizuho was the inaugural event, the Black Desert Championship out in Utah. Haydon Rue won that, kind of going away by 5 shots. She kind of put the disappointment of Chevron week behind her to win out there. Any any lasting thoughts or anything you want to get into the record before we move on?
Not really. I mean, the one thing that's sticking out to me right now is that the number one player in the world, Nelly Korda, seems to be searching still. And sometimes it's ball striking, sometimes it's her tee game, but really we're back to putting and kind of being unsure of her lines. It seems like speed's really good, but just kind of weird, uncharacteristic stuff from her so far. So she's going to have a long break since we last saw her getting ready to go to Erin Hills. And that she's been working her tail off and I'm sure has a good game plan there because of utter disappointment at last year's US Women's Open. But really, Gino, Lydia, Ronning, Haydon, and really like Lilia, I don't think we're in a better spot right now with the rest of the chasers. And it's kind of weird calling Gino a chaser. Like she's the best player in the world right now. And she's playing like that. By the way, like LC's had like a couple close calls already this year and is like absolutely fired up for Erin Hills. I think Erin Hills fits a grindy player like a Hannah Green and like a Celine Boutier, who, by the way, last year was kind of a stinker this year and, took second at Mizuho. There's a
Yeah.
lot of storylines that are starting to rise to the surface. And it's going to be, I think, like an awesome major championship, not just venue, but like everything else going around I'm just really, really fired up. And I'll say this. We mentioned Mexico. It's awesome. Yes, Black Desert was awesome. New course, new tournament host. They did a ton. There's one other thing outside of network coverage that I want to give the Mexico event a huge shout out is that, yeah, it's a week before a tournament in Wisconsin, but they're also providing a charter flight. It's like all the players, caddies, staff, everybody is literally just getting shipped from whatever the nearest airport is all the way up to Milwaukee, which again is a very nice touch at a time when there's so much influx at the LPGA tour. We had another string of announcements of people stepping away. Their chief marketing communication brand officer. Wow, three titles here. Matt Shmura stepped down, and we still are kind of commissionerless. We know that there's kind of two finalists that are there, but we got to start making some things happen here because it's the end of May and the LPGA tour's kind of been, no offense to Liz Moore and everything that she's been doing a great job to keep things going, but like rudderless.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. I was just chuckling at the nothing like going from the beaches of Playa del Carmen, Mexico, up to Milwaukee. But Milwaukee is lovely. We know that, DJ. We know Milwaukee's great. I am hopeful that the fine folks of Wisconsin and kind of the upper Great Lakes region will really show out for this championship. It could be really, really good. We'll have to kind of see next week the weather and get a feel for how they anticipate the course to be playing. But yeah, I'm stoked. One thing to note as we do go into next week, Yuka Sasso, our defending U.S. Women's Open champion, she is not playing in Mexico. And in fact, Cody has missed 3 straight cuts, 4 out of the last 5, is having like a really bad season. So just something, God, if she were to win a third US Open out of nowhere. Reminder, folks, she has 2 career LPGA wins. They're both US Opens, and they've both been at like pretty difficult setups. Her first at Olympic Club out in San Francisco, and then last year at Lancaster. Gosh, she is just such an enigma. You mentioned some news on the LPGA Tour. Matt Chamora has left. This follows Nicole Metzger, who left earlier in the year. She was Chief Sales and Partnerships Officer. So yeah, I just feel like, man, with this shuffling and having people cover, on an interim basis, all these important roles, I gotta think we need to be getting close to an official announcement for new commissioner. I have not heard anything specifically. I have no information on when and if an announcement will be made. But the longer we go, and the more people that are starting to leave, it just feels like, okay, we got to get this done and let the new commissioner, whoever that might be, get in and get their team around them, and let's start really kind of building back towards whatever it is. Um, a couple other odds and ends before we set up the Charley Hull interview. Cody, do you know anything about Mimi Rhodes?
I know she's on fire right now. What has she won?
She's
2, 3 times?
Yeah, she's going buck wild on the ladies European tour. Have to shout her out. She's a 24-year-old English woman, played her college golf at Wake Forest, was a part of the 2023 NCAA Division One Women's Golf Championship team there at Wake Forest. She won the Dutch Ladies Open last week, which was her third LET win since the end of March. So in about 2 months, her world ranking has jumped. She was down in the 500s before she captured her first win. She's now all the way up to 88 in the Rolex rankings. And I just point this out. Obviously, we're a year away from the Solheim Cup, a year away and change. But man, 3 LET wins, obviously leading the order of merit. I think this is a fun name for Team Europe to kind of keep an eye on. And quite frankly, somebody I'm excited to keep an eye on. I hope she keeps it going. And I don't know if she's planning any starts. I got to check if she'll be in the US Open, but hopefully somebody that we can watch, maybe tee it up in an LPGA event sometime this summer as well.
Well, just based off rankings, she'll get so she'll be in Evian because there's LET slots. She'll be in Women's
Probably the Cape.
Scottish.
Yeah.
She might get KPMG. I don't know for sure. Can check real quick. But yeah, I always find it interesting. So obviously she went to college in the States, went back home, and chose the LETA route straight away. Didn't I don't even know if she tried to play in Q series or not, but came up through LET access and then, has her full card now and is absolutely beating everybody down.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's I just think it's great to see anybody kind of go on a run like that, and Yeah, just excited to see where it goes. She is not in the U.S. Women's Open, so we won't see her at Erin Hills. But yeah, hopefully, maybe at the KPMG, we'll have to see as we get closer to that. And you're right, we'll definitely see her at Evian. So
You know what? I got a mea culpa I need to get ahead of right now. So top 75 for US Women's Open, that was locked back in March. Not I don't know
hmm.
why I was thinking that that's still the case now. Of course they had to lock it somewhere. But yeah, we're fine. Don't worry about that. Enjoy the
Okay.
golf in Mexico this week. But
Yeah, relax,
Mimi
relax, just
Rhodes,
enjoy it.
it's very interesting too to like see where she's won at. So her first win was at the Ford Women's New South Wales Open in Australia. Then there's a week off in between. The LET goes to South Africa to start the two-leg South African or two events to South Africa. She won there, so won theoretically back-to-back events. Then you have kind of this weird phase where there's tournaments going on, but not really. You have the Ramco Team Championship that happened in Korea that Hojo Kim went back to and ended up winning. Then gets to the Netherlands and is just gangbusters again. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for them. The LET is playing at the Evian Resort Club in France this week for the Jabra Ladies Open. Um, so we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see how the next couple weeks go for her and where she ends up racking and stacking to see if she can get into KPMG.
Yeah. Just to note, one of the people that she beat at the Dutch Ladies Open was Brianna Navarosa, who former University of Southern Cal standout. She's playing over on the LET. And then Ann Van Dam, a name I think everybody is pretty familiar with as well. So good win for Mimi Rhodes. Certainly one to keep an eye on there. Cody, we mentioned US Open qualifying a little. That is complete. Some of the big names or some of the names people might recognize who were able to get in through the qualifying route. You have Amari Avery. I know JP will be pumped about
Mm.
that. Saki Baba, former US AM, women's AM winner. Austin Kim, who's having a okay year this year on the LPGA. Somebody I was very bullish of at the start of the year. Grace Kim, good player. Celine Borges, who had a good year 2 years ago, and then Pauline Rosen Bouchard. And then the other one I want to mention, Cody, Yanni Sang got into the U.S. Open through the qualifying route. She's, of course, a very decorated major champion, but is somebody that is truly, truly like on what seems like an eternal search for her golf game. She made waves. She's now putting both right and left-handed on the greens. I don't believe she's made an LPGA cut in since maybe
Long time.
20. Yeah, it's over 3 or 4 years. And that's with like over 20 starts. It's just a crazy story, but kudos to her for qualifying. She's going to be at the US Open.
Big, if you got the putting yips that bad, like what lengths would you go to before you're just like, you know what? I can't really
I
do this anymore.
I know. That's exactly where I think I'd be like, do I still need to do this? I just, Yanni's 36 years old. Um, she has won 5 majors, 15-time LPGA winner. Gosh, I think at a certain point I would probably just call it a career. I truly don't know what is still motivating her, which makes it really fascinating. I think she's somebody that somebody needs to. There's a story there for sure. Somebody's going to get a good story out of just what her whole deal is right now. But to answer your question, Cody, if my yips ever got that bad, I'd probably just try to find a new hobby. I'd retire and then probably try to find a new hobby. Quite
Listen,
honestly,
is
yeah.
good on her for continuously putting herself out there, trying to make it happen. And obviously, 36 holes, this isn't like the men's US Open qualifier where there's locals and then finals. So locals being 18 holes, final being a 36 hole day. The women is just straight one time shot, 36 holes. And there's some drama at some sites that are out there too. I know that there's issues at one of the Florida sites and everything else like that. But congratulations to everybody who made it through qualifying. There's a lot of amateurs that made this U.S. Women's Open field. I'm very, very excited for it. And the names that are going to be there, it's going to be an incredibly exciting test to include somebody who just won the NCAA Women's National Championship,
Yeah,
Maria
tell us who this is.
Maria Jose Marin. She plays out of Arkansas. She, I believe, is the number 10th ranked player in Wager. She ends up winning the individual title at 12 under total, of course, at the North Course at Omni La Costa. She finished 2 ahead of Florida State's Mirabelle Ting, 4 ahead of Kelly Zhu from Stanford. Stanford absolutely leading the way as these teams are stacked up to get the match play portion going. Um, they finished with a record breaking team qualifying total of 27 under par to be the number 1 seed. The number 2
Crazy.
seed, Oregon, finished at 6 under par total. Oregon and Stanford are the only 2 teams to come in under par. The rest of the top 8 that move on to the match play portion are Northwestern, Florida State, Southern California, Arkansas, Texas, and Virginia coming in that 8th spot. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, I always think the team match play is some of the best golf, both men and women, that will be all year. So hopefully people can check that out. We're recording on Tuesday, so we don't know any results by the time this comes out. The team portion will have advanced some. So do you see anybody beating Stanford? I mean, just crazy. They not only were Stanford and Oregon the only 2 teams combined under par through the 4 qualifying rounds. But Stanford to be 21 shots better than the second place team, it just boggles the mind. I obviously anything can happen in match play. I think that's the beauty of it. But whew, boy, it's going to be a tall task for anybody to take down this Stanford team. I think.
Yeah, it's nearly, we'll see. Crazier
Yeah,
things have happened, but it's just, I mean, it goes back to show just how well of a program Coach Ann Walker has there. And it seems like no matter how many absolute superstars she has that comes through that program, they're just, recruiting and filling them in right next to them. A major, shout out to Mega Gane, who has stayed there and wants to finish playing, not only collegiate golf, but finish her college experience with that team and loves being a part of it. And it's just one of those things where it's like really cool to see. And you see, other very high profile programs starting to do the same. So it's going to take a lot, big, but who knows? And I'll say this: you got some nighttime Golf Channel coverage of this. It's great to see the North Course at Omni La Costa. Gil Hans did work there. Obviously, I played, with an all shot match there with Cam Young,
that's right.
and the greens were rock hard when we played. They were rock hard last year, and it's nice to see them finally like starting to settle in a little bit because I know that Omni and our friends there have put a ton of money into it, and it's going to be there for a bit. So excited to see this finish up, and then the men kick off. So a lot of good golf going on.
Yep, yep. Well, I think that brings us to the Charley Hull portion, the interview portion of our podcast. Charlie's a funny one, man. We recorded this last week with her. I think both you and I were didn't quite know what to expect. I'll say, we caught her at the end of a full media day ahead of this year's upcoming AIG Women's Open in Wales at Royal Porthcawl. And God, she just makes me laugh. And I don't say that like nothing about this is like I don't want it to come off as disrespectful to Charlie, but I we weren't even through asking some of our questions and she was already ready to answer them. Some questions, she gave us just the 1-2 word quick answer and that's that. And like honestly, it's like, yeah, maybe that was the answer that question deserved. But then other times she's super thoughtful. She just is totally uniquely herself, Cody. I
Yes.
think that's just what like shines through more than anything.
Yeah, 100%. There's nobody who's like more comfortable in their own skin than Charley Hall. She's an absolute golf sicko. All she does is play golf. I think part of it that I found most interesting is just like her love of golf, but really it's not about what you have golf obsessed people that are about the travel or the architecture or competitive golf or anything. That's not her. She just loves golf. She just wants to go hit balls every day. And if she can be close to home, that's where she wants to be. So extremely fascinating. It's crazy to think she was the LET Rookie of the Year in 2013.
I
Okay. She's been doing this for a long, long time. She's not even 30 years old
it's
yet.
it's insane.
She's still only
Yeah.
29. And, like, it's just a stalwart, both at she represents her country very, very well. She represents the European squad on the Solheim Cup. She had some interesting insight about that and kind of her
Yeah.
feelings on the Solheim Cup that I think people get a chuckle about. And then, we're kind of out with the professional game as a whole and where she finds herself in there. I was very impressed. She's thoughtful, but don't ask a dumb question because she'll let you have it.
Yeah,
Uh,
she doesn't have patience for that. Well, Cody, just a quick do you wanna let the people know we're going back to the AIG this year? Just
yeah,
should we just go ahead and get out in front of that?
Yes, I'm very excited, Big. We are back. So this is going to be our third year working the AIG Women's Open. Of course, we started at Walton Heath, kind of, new deer out there trying to find our legs. Last year, I think we got a little bit better at St. Andrews, and this year, I don't know, but we're going to try really hard. We're going back, baby. We're going to be part of the RNA radio team again at this year's AIG Women's Open. The first time in Wales, Royal Porthcawl. Very excited about that. We're going to have Lydia Co defending, of course, taking place 30 July through 3 August. It's the biggest women's sporting event in Wales. And please, everybody, if you're interested or just want some more information, you can check out their website, aigwomensopen.com. As part of our deal with the RNA, we got access to Charley. That's why we're bringing you this interview right here. We're very, very excited because we're going to have a couple more of these interviews later in the year with other of the best players in the women's game as we gear up for the 14th AIG, or excuse me, as we gear up for this year's Women's Open. Charley, I mentioned her age. I mentioned Rookie of the Year in what did I say? 2013.
2013.
This is her
Unbelievable.
14th AIG Women's Open start. Of course, our first year at Walton Heath, she ended up taking second place to Lilia Vu. I think everybody's going to learn a little bit something about Charley from this interview, and appreciate everybody at the RNA for hooking it up.
Well, without further ado then, here is our chat with Charley Hull. I guess first question, you are over, in Wales, I presume, doing a
Mhm.
little media day ahead of the Open later this summer. First impressions of Royal Porthcawl, had you seen it before? Had you gotten a
Yeah, I
chance to
actually
play
played
it?
here when I was about 14-year-old in a junior event, and I liked it back then, and I love it now. I played here in January as well. It was actually a really nice day. It was nice and sunny, and the golf course was great. So yeah, looking forward to the British Open this year.
Well, I guess, before we get to the British Open, we have, gosh, three majors to get to before that. The first being the US Women's Open at Erin Hills. Do you know anything about Erin Hills? And I
No, I
only
don't.
ask because I know in, I think it was your press conference out in Utah, you revealed that you don't use a yardage book ever.
No.
And so I was just curious how you go about prepping a new golf course or a golf course that you have not played before.
Yeah, I just get on the golf course in the practice round, play the golf course, and hit a few shots on the way around, and leave the work to the caddy. No, I'm one of these. I am one of these players, though. I don't like too much information. I just like to see the fairway, know my spots where to hit it. You obviously you're going to know where you not don't want to where you don't want to miss it. Do you know what I mean? And literally just get on the golf course. So if I just ask my caddy how far I've got, it'd be like 127 front, 147 pin, and I'll just say, is the miss long or short here? I'll say the miss is short. Well, perfect. Do you know what I mean? I know that's all I need to know.
Yeah. How is your game right now? I guess let's go there. How would you assess your golf game? How are you feeling heading into a busy stretch?
I started off pretty steady this season so far. I missed a cut at Chevron, but I actually played pretty decent. Actually played to be fair, I actually played really well, but I just didn't have my driver going in the first round. So then made a few tweaks of it. In the second round, I played a lot better, and then just didn't really hold any putts. But but that was that really. And I'm just been at home the last week and then got this one more week at home and just taking it chilled, because sometimes I can just practice too much. I think I'll spend 12 hours on the golf course when I'm at home and then just get too golf obsessed. So I'm just trying to like slow down a little bit.
How do you do that? I mean, you mentioned wanting to hit balls in practice all the time, but how do you slow
Yeah.
yourself down?
Just kind of take myself away and spend time with my family instead. Obviously still on the golf course playing, but then having a bit of life outside of golf as well, just like chilling in my house, watching TV with my nephews and stuff.
Are we making progress on the 5K time?
Yeah,
Where does that
23:30
stand?
now.
Okay.
23:30. So got 3
That's
more minutes to go.
That's so
Yeah.
impressive. And I apologize, you probably have told this story, but for our listeners, where did that goal come from? How did that get in your head for this year?
My nephew can do it in like 17 minutes. And like years ago, when we was like 17, 18, we all used to go out drinking together. And he was a little chubster, and so was I. And I thought, if you can now do it in 17 minutes, I should easily be able to do it in under 20 minutes. So that's where my motivation has come from.
Do you enjoy running, or is it kind of a love-hate
Yeah, I do.
relationship?
I enjoy like just switching off my head, and mentally it makes me feel good. I get bored with everything I do in life. Like I find things quite boring and I can get quite agitated, but I just feel like when I run, I just switch off. It like really helps me mentally.
Does that ever translate to the golf course? Do you ever find yourself bored by the week to
Yeah.
week, the day to day?
Yeah, I do. I found the golf rounds are sometimes way too slow. So then you kind of like lose your momentum. And anything I do in life, I like it to be fast and just on the go all the time. So it was weird. Like when I started smoking, that kind of like, that's one reason why I used to smoke, because it just used to kill a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? Just like relax you.
Yes.
But then I quit about 2 months ago.
Yeah, congratulations. And you're
Thanks.
still sticking to it, right?
Yep, I did. Yeah.
Are you substituting anything for it?
Yeah, I had the nicotine patches. And then,
Do you have a brand of choice, or you don't want to say that because people should pay you
no,
for
I
it?
just get whatever that's in the shop. Do you know what I mean? I'll have that one. Go on then, give me some of that.
No, I'm the same. Hopelessly, I used it to
I
quit
don't
as
like them.
well, and I'm
I
still
don't like
there.
them ones though. I don't like what you've got there. Them Zens. I don't like them.
Uh-oh, that's tough.
Yeah, I
Is
like.
there a flavor that you go, or you just go, nope, I just want
I kind of like just
flavorless?
like the taste. I just kind of like the flavorless ones that just taste kind of like nicotine-y. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You mentioned working out, running. It's obviously a big part of your life. Has
Hmm.
fitness always been a love of yours, or is this something that's
Yeah, I've
kind of
been in
like
the gym
came
since I was 14 years old, but generally golf, mainly golf training stuff, and I found it ever so boring. It was like a chore to do. And it
right?
hasn't been. And then 3 years ago, I got real skinny, but I didn't used to train and do nothing at all. And I just wanted to get myself into something. So then I got myself into the gym and smashing it more, nothing to do with golf, more just to become, I wanted to become an athlete.
Yeah, last year at St. Andrews, we spent some time with Kate, and she was just
Yeah,
gushing,
she's a machine,
obviously
isn't she?
about you and everything. But I know it's a lot more than just golf fitness for you. You're
Mhm.
training for life. You're training for what you want to do for everything. And part of this now is what is it? High Rocks, the new competition, and everything that you're super into.
Yeah. Yeah, I love high rocks. It's a lot of fun. And then today we just done some boxing, and now I've got in my head I want to become a boxer. So no, not really become a boxer, but do a bit of boxing. I just like anything that pushes your body and turns your mind off stuff and being fit. Anything that keeps you out the pub, really.
It's true. You've mentioned quitting smoking. You mentioned how boring and it takes a lot of time to get through professional rounds, especially on
Yeah.
LPGA tour, major championships, anything else
Hmm.
like that. And you've been quite outspoken about it. Is that something that you didn't? It caused kind of a stir. I don't know why, but did you expect to have the reaction from people that you did?
Not really. I didn't really look at what people were saying. I just said what I thought, and that's what I thought, and I said it. Do you know what I mean? And it's true though, isn't it? It's not false. So if people wasn't talking about it, it's obviously got some truth behind it, and they do need a bit of a kick up the butt to speed up golf, because it can be too slow. Like the other day, me and my friend, we played in 2 hours to play 18 holes. I was thinking sometimes it takes us 3 hours to play 9 holes. It's unbelievable.
Do you think the pace is getting better?
I was gonna say, with the new pace of play
I
policy,
don't
have you
know.
noticed a
I wouldn't
difference?
say there's a massive change. I still think there could be room for improvement, but I suppose they're trying. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's one of the main things.
Getting back to working out, I was curious as you were talking about your fitness journey, I guess. Have you seen that translate to like increase ball speed, increase club speed? Do you track
Well,
that stuff
I have
or
no
are you not really
clue, but
worried?
I don't know nothing about ball speed or club speed. Like, I have no clue about any of that. Generally, no clue.
Me
If you
either,
tell
Charlie,
me
to
the
be
numbers, I'll
honest.
be like, is that fast or is that slow? Um, Generally, just I've obviously probably gained a bit of distance, but I don't really do it for that. Do you know what I mean? I hit it long enough
Y-
anyway, I find.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've been on tour now for more than 10 years. 2015, I believe, was your rookie season on the
Yeah. Well,
LPGA
actually, no,
tour.
yeah, turned pro when in 2012 when I was 16. Played a year
Yeah.
and a half in Europe and then come to America.
I mean, can you believe that? Have you ever taken the time to kind of look back and reflect? Or, I mean, you're one of the veterans now. Do you
Yeah.
ever catch yourself thinking about, your journey?
Yeah, you do, but it's all kind of a blur, really. You've got highs and you've got lows. Obviously, when you're younger, I stopped. I didn't really have much of a life when I was younger because obviously golf was my life. So you miss out on a lot of things at home. That's why I try not to play too many events like now because I've got a life outside of golf and I want to enjoy my life. You've only got one life, so I just want to live it. And I do get homesick, so that's why I'm in the position now that I can just pick and choose my events.
Obviously, you're chasing a major championship, but I'm curious what else, as far as golf goals, really keeps you motivated. Are there things that you want to accomplish before all is said and done?
I don't really look at stuff like that. I just love playing golf. Like if I was to finish golf, I'll still play golf every day at home. I don't love playing golf on tour. I'm not gonna lie. I've never loved really going out traveling and playing golf on tour. I love being at home with my friends on the golf course with them in the UK and playing golf because I generally just love golf. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's maybe a bit rare amongst
Yeah.
professional players.
Yeah, I think
I
that ask a lot of girls out there, and I don't think a lot of girls love the sport or enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? They're more like,
yeah.
yeah, well, I just actually I enjoy being out there and stuff.
It is
Well,
hard to find the balance though, because you're very steadfast in your schedule and trying to maximize the amount of time
Yeah,
you spend at home, but
yeah,
also being prepped and everything for when you do go on the road to show up
yeah.
at these new golf courses. I mean, what's the thought process? How are you being able to balance everything?
Just kind of got used to it after how many years I've been on tour. Um, I think sometimes I put too much pressure on myself, like practice too much, and it's all golf, 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 golf. And I've just realized that, so I've kind of just like still golf, golf, golf when I'm at home, but just like relax it back a little bit. It's just all managing things. Like I get obsessions with things. Like one minute I'm mad into like I don't know, like I have like fads of doing things, if you get what I mean. Like, I'm mad into my high rocks. The next thing I'll be mad into TV program. The next thing I'll be mad into running. I'm just like a little weirdo like that, but it's just what keeps my head ticking over.
Does that give you
yeah,
like freedom though?
Yeah, I suppose it does. Yeah.
yeah. You mentioned boxing. I guess what else have you tried your hand at through the years?
Oh, I don't know really. I like cooking.
Okay,
I like cleaning. I like showering.
that's
I'm
an
obsessed with
interesting one.
showering. I'm really clean. Like I love like to shower and baths. I like like Epsom salts and then like saunas
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
steam rooms and stuff like that. Dog walks, a bit of shopping, but I find that boring sometimes. I like to go into a shop, know what I've got to get, and then come out. Just like if I'm in the right headspace, I like chilling, but it's got to be with the only the right type of person. Do you get what I mean? But apart from that, I just like to be on the go 24/7.
When you're home, do you ever watch golf, or is it
No,
strictly
never.
like I just like to play?
No, I don't. No, I just love playing golf. I'm not a big watcher of golf. No, no, I'm not a massive watcher of golf. Probably only once a year, the men's Masters and the men's British Open. That's it.
So while you're at home, you obviously are giving a lot of time to your family. What is a normal day? Not today, obviously, because you're on the road. You're over doing media and everything else like that. But what's the normal day look like?
Usually get up really early, go for a run, then go to the gym, have a shower, go for some breakfast, practice, do my putting drills, hit some balls, go out play 18 holes, and then by the time then it's getting dark and just go back and chill, have some food, watch a movie, and go to bed.
Are you cooking? You said
But
you like to cook, but are
yeah,
you cooking for yourself every day?
I haven't cooked for myself for a while, but I do like when I like cooking for someone sometimes. You know what I mean? When it's for myself, like I just throw anything together. But I do enjoy cooking. I do. I like a Sunday's roast dinner. I bet you don't have that in America,
Mm,
Sunday's roast, do you?
no, we don't. It's not, we have a poor excuse for it sometimes, but you guys
What
Yeah.
goes
definitely
into
take
a
it.
what makes a proper roast?
Roast potatoes, Yorkshire pudding,
Okay.
like a joint of beef, cauliflower cheese, stuffing, like vegetables, gravy, just
Getting
all
hungry,
pop it on the
Charlie. It's
plate.
too early for us over here. I mean,
Yeah.
this is making my mouth
I was
water
gonna say,
already.
Cody, when we come over for the Open, I assume we can find a good roast around Wales.
Yeah,
It's not just an
Sunday.
English thing.
You'll be, yeah,
Okay.
when you go to a pub, you'll find a nice Sunday's roast.
Okay. All right. I was gonna get back. Sorry, just because you've been on tour now, or been a professional for over what 12, 13 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Have you noticed much change in the women's game? Has anything do you take note of, is it more of a distance game? Is it more of a finesse game? How do you assess kind of where the game has gone over your professional career?
I felt like when I first come on tour, we would always talk about like, the Koreans being unbelievably good because they're like so straight and so precise and putt well, and not necessarily they didn't used to hit it far. But now I feel like there's a new breed of like the Korean girls that coming through that hit it far as well and also do all of that. So it's really up in the game, and obviously all of the way the prize money's going, it's getting bigger and better. I think when you're in it, you don't really notice things too much because you're just so focused on yourself.
Yeah. One thing, gosh, I forget what interview I was reading, but and it's absolutely true. But you were talking about how you're not a boring player, and I think anybody that's watched you play knows you're not a boring player. You play with a certain amount of flair, and as somebody that enjoys watching you play golf, I really appreciate that. And I was just curious, who are some of the people, past, present, that you, Charlie, really enjoy watching play golf?
If I watch golf, I'll watch back some of the clips from like the 1970s and 1980s and 1990s when like Sevy and that all used to play, when they used to have to draw the club, fade the club, and it wasn't all about distance. Like me, when I watch that, I think that's unbelievable. That's what golf should be like. It's so much more interesting. These days I don't bother watching it because it's just how far they hit it. And it's boring. And I think I
Yeah.
was growing up watching like, the Sevy short game DVD and stuff like that. It's got a flair, it's got charisma. And I feel like that's what sometimes golf misses sometimes.
Yeah. Do you ever wish there was more of that in the women's
Yeah.
game specifically?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
If it was up to me,
And
everyone would have to play with blades. They'll get rid of their rescue woods and just play old school golf.
I would
But
sign on to that.
yeah,
Well, gosh, Cody, you want to talk about more about golf? Sorry, I'm thinking where do we want to go next?
Well, yeah, I think there's a big start to the year. You obviously talked about Chevron. We got Erin Hills coming up for the U.S. Women's Open. We got a first look at a new PGA, KPMG Women's PGA at Frisco and in Texas. You've won in Dallas. I mean, that's got to have some good feelings. Obviously, different time of year, but coming back to Texas for a first look at a course. And then where you're at right now, I think it's just Evian, obviously there in between. I think it's a really good run. And I say that because you've been very, very, very on fire the last 2-3 years in major championships. Obviously, you want to win a major championship. But where do we feel like the game is moving into the busy part of your calendar year?
no, it feels pretty good. Like doing all the right things. Uh, I don't really think it's my game that ever gets in the way of me. It's sometimes just like me mentally thinking I put too much pressure on myself. So if I go into it, like the times that I won, like when I won the tour championship when I was 16 years old, this is for instance, I was putting myself under pressure all year trying to win the event. Then the week before that event, I thought, you know what, I don't even care. I'm just going to go out there and have some fun. The weekend before, I went on a massive drinking weekend with my friends, went out for 2 or 3 days, didn't do no practice. My dad told me off. He was like, you're going to miss the cut this week, you're going to play awful. I was like, whatever, rocked up to the event and won it. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and then I've done that, like, not necessarily drinking like the other time when I went in Texas. Like, I just had no pressure going into the week, just enjoying it. Wasn't like putting too much pressure on myself out when went and won it. And I just think I can get too obsessed with golf, like too obsessed with it. And like we're to the point of the way I've struck my last iron shot on a practice range session, say on Wednesday of being at home, will affect my mood for the rest of the evening, and that shouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? You should just turn off from it. So that's what I've been trying to do the last week or so, like have a bit of a life outside of golf as well. And I think sometimes you can forget that.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
all it
Easy
is
to do when
sport.
you're home, but during tournament weeks, I mean, do you travel with people to make sure that you kind of
No,
stay
I like
grounded and have an
I like
excuse?
being by myself. I like being by
Really?
myself. I do. Yeah, I love my own company. Yeah,
What show are you hooked on right now when you're on the
Mobland.
road and what is it?
Mobland.
Oh,
Mob
yeah.
Oh,
Heard it?
I've heard good things
Yeah,
about that. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have not seen it. With Tom Hardy, I think's in that.
yeah, it's a great show.
Okay. Where are your favorite places to play throughout the calendar year? What are there specific courses or tournaments that you really look forward to?
Pebble Beach. That was fun. Obviously, that was US Open. We're not there back there again. I don't know whenever when. I do usually like the KPMG weeks. The golf courses they put us on are really nice. I like the CME Tour Championship at the end of the year. I like that little run. And I love playing on the East Coast in America. I love them kind of golf courses.
You like hard golf courses?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people that truly love the challenge of
Yeah.
like, wow, we're playing a historic or very difficult golf course that takes a little bit more thought process to get around. And I've always appreciated that about you.
Do you wish that they would set up golf courses week to week a little bit more difficult?
Yeah, I really wish I do because sometimes I set it up like a par three pitch and putt,
Yeah.
and that's no challenge. Do you know what I mean? I wish I
Yeah.
did play it harder.
Hey, Charlie, I got something for you. A lot of talk of major championships, everything else like that. But obviously, you're such a stalwart on the European squad for the Solheim Cup. You got a new captain coming in next year, somebody that you've been playing with and been around for a long, long time now. But total record for the Solheim Cup, you're 15-9-3, and absolutely a team captain. What makes those weeks different than your normal week in, week out?
Well, it's mad to think because I don't really like team golf. I'm not a big team player. I'm not. I generally am never have, and I don't really like match play either. But I've had some good results in Solheim Cups. Do you know what I mean? I find it quite hard because I'm so much my own person. I like to do my own things at the own time. I hate it when everyone's trying to be like, "Come on, like we can do
Yeah.
this, we can do this." I'm like, just shut up. Like I know you can do it. We do it each week in and week out. Do you know what I mean? We don't need all this rah 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 behind us. Just get up and whack the ball down the first hole and play some golf and win your point. Do you know what I mean? I don't like all the spiel that everything that goes behind it. But I think last time I'm Cup, Suzanne Peterson for me done that really well. Like sometimes I even missed the team meetings in the evening because I was just chilling. Like I don't need all that talk because at the end of the time we're individual players coming into this team stuff, but we're there because we're individual players. So that's just me personally. I've never really been a team player. Obviously, I want all my team to win my points and everything, but I just don't. I find it very hard to just like gel and get into all that that stuff that goes on around it. But I thought last year I really, really did enjoy it. That's probably my favourite Solheim Cup. Even though we lost, I just really enjoyed it.
Was there a difference in how Suzanne went about last year in DC compared to how everything was in Spain?
Yeah, I think it was a bit different. Like obviously it's the second time round, so she would learn from her mistakes and just tidy up on things. But I think she was a great captain last time. For me anyway, personally, I thought she was a great captain. And I think Anna's gonna be a good captain because she's quiet. But for me, the best captain I've had all the time was Katrina Matthews.
Mm.
When was in Glen Eagles, she was real cool. She was just chilled.
Somebody that's been around the team for many years, never the head captain, is Laura Davies. Do you have much of a relationship with the
Yeah,
Dane?
I like Laura. Laura's lovely. Yeah, I don't think she would ever want to be captain though, but I think she's great for the team.
I was going to ask, does being a captain, does that ever interest you? Is that something you could see yourself doing down the line?
Never in a million years. I'd never be captain. Not a bit of me. Definitely not.
Assistant?
Nope.
Not at all,
Okay.
huh?
No,
Okay.
All right.
because I'd be too agitated. I'd want to hit everyone's shot.
So last year in Virginia, your singles match against Nelly Korda, you defeated her 6-4. Have you played much better golf than that? That was
Yeah, I thought I've been playing pretty good golf like that all year. I was playing pretty solid. I've just had a really good day playing against Nelly. She was
yeah,
playing great golf like all that week, and I knew what you had to do, make loads of birdies, and that's the
yeah.
beauty of match play for you.
You said you don't really like the format, but what is it about match play that doesn't really sit well with you?
Because like you could get these players that will have blow up on one hole. They could have like an 8 on a hole, and it's only one down, rather than you could make birdie and you're 5 shots ahead of them, but it's only one shot
Yep.
in match play. Do you know what I mean?
That's interesting that you don't. I would guess that you would love match play.
No. I find the
Can't put
stroke
her in a
play so much
box,
more
Randy.
I know.
interesting. Yeah.
Never assume. I'm sorry, just by asking the question, I feel like it adds to the pressure. But do you feel a pressure to win a major? Is that something that like my career would
Yeah,
be?
it's always something I wanted to win since I was a little baby. You don't look at. I'd never thought when I was younger I want to be world number one. Obviously you do, but it's like, oh, you want to win a major. Do you know what I mean? So of course I want to win a major, and I like the feeling of pressure. Pressure's fun.
Yeah.
Like it gives you a bit of excitement. It gives you something to work for.
And I feel like through, Pebble Beach was fantastic down the stretch. You put yourself in a great spot at Walton Heath as well. Do you take stuff with you from some of these close calls?
Yeah, you do. You're just trying to think, if and buts and all this about it. But at the end of the day, Lilia played really well. And then I just didn't quite play as well on that last round, and I just looked at a few things. You just naturally learn from the mistakes.
You mentioned Adam earlier and all the confidence and trust of giving you numbers and everything else like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, a very long relationship to have that, so you can show up to
Yeah.
somewhere without a yardage book and everything. But it seems like it's difficult on the LPGA tour for people to stick with the same caddy for a long time. And you
Yeah,
guys
it's
are
mad.
kind of
Like, I literally, Ads is like my right arm. I'll be lost without him. We have such a good relationship. Like, to the point of the relationship is where if I've hit a crap shot, he'll be like, "Well, that was shit," and I'll be like, "I know, Ads, thank you." Do you know what I mean? Like, we'll just laugh about it. Called him a few words in my time as well.
yeah,
We laugh about it
I'm
afterwards.
sure.
It's just the heat of the moment.
Who are there any fellow players that you get along really well with, or that you're excited to be paired with when you do
Yeah, I
get to
get on
play with
obviously
them?
really well with like Georgia. She's from England, Georgia Hull. I get on with a lot of the girls, but I kind of one of these people. I just kind of like keeping myself to myself. I just like that. Like, I've got my friends at home. I've got my family at home. My friends are the people that are at home that I've been brought up with and stuff. But I respect a lot of the players on tour. Like, I've got a lot of respect for Nelly. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of the players on tour. But at the end of the day, we want to beat each other.
Your tour is currently looking for a new commissioner. Charley, if they came to you and were like, we need a few of your top ideas, what if you could twitch your nose and implement some things? Is there anything that you would prescribe for the LPGA tour?
Truthfully, I don't get involved in that stuff. When it comes to the players' meetings, I think I end up falling asleep half the time. Unless it's something that catches my eye, but I try and keep out of the politics and stuff like that. I just think they need someone strong and trustworthy. I like Mike Wan when he was the commissioner, but at the end of the day, I don't get too involved in all that stuff, so I just keep out of it.
As long as everybody's playing a little faster,
Yeah,
that's all right with you.
yeah.
Well, Cody, before we let Charley go, anything else you would like to ask her?
No, I mean, we're big fans of you, Charley. We're always, whether
Thanks.
we're at an event or talking about it on the podcast, Randy mentioned there's certain people with style and emotion and willing to be themselves 100% of the time. It's hard to come by,
100%.
and you are
It
always
is.
genuine, and
Yeah, I think people these
appreciate
days, I
that.
think when it comes to golf, or any sport, you've got an image that they think they've got to maintain. And I just think at the end of the day, you're gonna be so tired and forget who you are if you have to be false and keep this image. Just be myself. Generally, just be myself. If you don't like it, lump it. End of.
Yep, absolutely. Very free. And I think you're also the proud owner now of the ultimate golf geek backyard setup. The
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
studio, everything else, it's truly amazing. So congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
on that.
Cheers, guys. Nice to speak to you.
Yep. Thank you, Charley.